Hi, my name's Clain Jones. I'm an MSU's Extension Soil Fertility Specialist, which means I educate producers on anything that's soil related, fertility related, or help them with their fertilizer management. What I'm studying here at the Post Farm this year, last year, and also next year is nitrogen fixation in peas and lentils. I'm doing this study with Perry Miller, Kevin McPhee, Scott Powell, and also Peggy Lamb up at Northern Ag Research Center. Directly behind me is a study called the Lentil Fertility Study. Here we're studying the effects of potassium, sulfur, granular inoculant versus peat inoculant, and also a foliar micronutrient application. I'm pretty excited about it because already we're seeing some sulfur effects where the darker green plots actually had sulfur and the lighter green did not have sulfur. Behind that is what we call the pea inoculation study. There we're looking at the effects of granular versus peat powder, the two in combination, and then we're also looking at twice the peat powder application just to see if it can be as good as granular typically is. Behind that is a study that I'm working on with Kevin McPhee where we're evaluating the effects of 10 different varieties of peas on nitrogen fixation. The goal would be if we can identify a pea variety or two that fix more nitrogen, that would help Kevin in his breeding program to hopefully some point develop peas that fix more nitrogen and likely therefore increase yield, increase protein, and hopefully leave more nitrogen behind in the soil. And then it might be hard to see with the current image, but the fourth study back there is a lentil variety trial. Very similar to the pea variety trial, we're looking at 10 different varieties of lentils to determine which of them fix more or fix less nitrogen. So we started these studies last year. We're going to continue them until 2021, both here and at Northern Ag Research Center. You might be wondering, how do you measure nitrogen fixation? Well, there's several different ways, but one that we're using here is called the mass balance method. What we do is we plant both the pulse crop, we plant a flax crop, which is what you see here in the foreground, this nice pretty lavender flowering plant. We call this our reference crop. It is not fixing nitrogen. We measure tissue nitrogen in the pulse crop. We measure soil nitrate after harvest below the pulse crop. We measure tissue nitrogen in the flax, and then we measure soil nitrate below the flax. We add the pulse tissue and soil nitrogen. We subtract the flax nitrogen and the soil nitrogen, and that gives us a pretty good estimate of nitrogen fixation. So that's essentially, in a nutshell, what I'm studying here at the Post Farm. I hope if you have any soil fertility questions, you never hesitate to call me or email me. You can find my information on the Extension website. You can Google soil and Clain, C-L-A-I-N. It's a unique enough name. You'll find my webpage. So thanks, and let me know if you have any questions. How nitrogen fixation happens and where it happens. It's happening in these what's called nodules, which are formed when rhizobia, what's called infect the root. A little root wraps around that rhizobia or that bacteria, forms this nice little place for lots of bacteria to live. They convert nitrogen gas in the soil over to a form of nitrogen, ammonium, that plants can use. And so this pea plant is benefiting greatly by having bacteria convert nitrogen in air that the plant can't use over to a nitrogen form that it can. And this happens in all pulse crops, alfalfa, sainfoin, any legume. So that's how infixation works.